are listening to Anja Asks Anybody. And today, my guest is Coe Douglas, artist, educator, pataphysician. There was some other descriptor that I forgot already, but you're clearly an amazing human being.
As are you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell me, let me look at my questions here. Yeah. So tell me about your practice. What does it look like, and what are some of the things that are coming up with it?
Yeah. So my practice bounces around a lot. I've done like installation stuff in the past. I've done design stuff. I've done oracle decks, books. So right now I've been working on some writing projects that involve kind of mixed media. One is a translation of a song where we do pataphysical commentaries, and we're working on a book. Another one was a project called Cannibal Pataphysics, which was an examination of sort of a process of reclaiming art. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff, writing that are hybrids. Those had collage. So I like to work across disciplines like that in most of my work.
So you are definitely an educator of graduate students, and so you can really throw around those big egghead words. But what tell us about pataphysics?
Oh man, that's a big egghead word. So what's cool about pataphysics is that Andrew Hugel, who's a philosopher and an educator who wrote a book about it, said to try to explain pataphysics is to fail to explain pataphysics. But one might kind of regularly say that it's a science of imaginary solutions. It came out of France, late 19th, early 20th century, and it is essentially a container to imagine within, with a bunch of principles that make no sense and that are kind of almost koan-like in their contradictions, but that's kind of the point. It's sort of trying to crack open something in the imagination is the goal, I think.
Cool. So what is one imaginary solution you've been toying with of late?
Interdimensionality. I mean, I only say that because when in pataphysics there's this idea called the supplementary universe, and what's cool about that is I work with futures. It's in my work in school, and instead of thinking about the future, you can think as an alternative present, and that gives us this container to kind of imagine. So by slipping into another kind of possible world, we can play around and try out different versions of the world or the future and see if we like it. A very carnivalesque idea, right?
Yeah. What are some of the alternate realities that you see coming up repeatedly as a teacher? Are there some rhyming ideas from head to head?
Rhyming? I don't know if they're rhyming, but rhyme adjacent. But I mean, I think to me, what's the one that we tend to talk a lot about right now, and there was a Chobani commercial that sort of showed a solar punk future, and solar punk being this idea that we take the world where it is and find the beauty in the cracks, right? So it's not a utopian vision of a future. It's taking the world as it is and trying to find the most beauty. And so solar punk comes up a lot. I think it's exciting because it's a space that is ripe for possibility. It's sort of analog, so it's not detechnologized, but it's very centered on the human and the more than human and ecologies, which to me is really, I think, essential, because without thinking about that, I think we face a lot of problems going forward in time.
Yeah. Yeah, so do you have a tangible example?
So the common ones, and there's books that are in this space of like solar punk. I mean, like big solar space, like spaceships, or like bringing back sort of these airships, getting away from planes. The solar punk world would be very regenerative. Technologies would exist in the background, more like an operating system. So I actually had students last year do this very cool installation for our final show, and what they did was they created a kitchen from the future that looked like a regular kitchen, but with the closer you looked, you saw these really intricate technologies existing in the background, like a home system that was like a sentient home that sort of operated everything, so they had more time. So that's one example, and a lot of it's, I would say, very green, a lot of gardening and returning to sort of, it's not like a return to the land, but it's like rebalancing. It also, I think, asks the question, a lot of solutions for the future might be found in the past, and not all technologies have to plug in.
Yeah, I like that. What I'm sorry. I'm like
because imagining is a technology,
yeah.
right? Which is really cool. Like we think about, like in school, we talk a lot about hard and soft skills, and like there's the analytical skills and there's context, but like imagination is this thing that we sort of take for granted, but it is everything around us, including the reason we're having a conversation right now, began as an exercise of someone's imagination. And so I think that's like, it's like the air around us when we work in these spaces. But I think I like to kind of call it out because I think it's something we have to fiercely hang on to as we move into more technologized spaces.
Yeah. What is one way we can retain our connection to being an ecological phenomenon walking around in a world that's trying to cyborg us? What is one thing we can do?
Run from the cyborgs. Well, I mean, you know, it's interesting because as much as during the kind of the shutdown COVID time, as much as it sucked, I had a lot of time to be in my backyard, and I got really interested in who are all the other little beings in my backyard, and I got really interested in foraging, and I started learning all the plants. That was such an ecological act for me because this kind of canvas of green came alive with all these beings, and many of them are edible, many of them are medicinal. So you learn so much from that. And so that was a very ecological practice for me, and it was also kind of a rewilding practice. I like to joke that I'm trying to rewild myself, but I think spending time outside. I also find that walking and being outside is really good for imagining. There's a great book called The Philosophy of Walking by, I think his name is Frederick Gros, but he's a French philosopher, but he gives examples of how many philosophers we all know did most of their thinking going on long distance walks with notebooks, right? So walking is such a cool practice.
Yeah.
Get outside, get off your tech, right?
Yes. Touch grass as the youngins say.
Yeah, what a simple idea, right? But it's so beautiful.
Yeah. So what were some of the plants that you met in your yard?
Oh, the coolest plant's nettle, stinging nettle. It stings you, right? It's like a bee sting.
But you can eat it.
It's one of the healthiest things you can eat in this region, and you can make it tea, and once you dry it or cook it, it loses its sting. But yeah, it's like the coolest plant. It's fierce, it spreads, it's hardy. It was considered, if you go down the herbalism rabbit hole, it was considered like a spring herb because it was one of the first plants that came up, and people would use it to kind of nourish themselves after a hard winter. And it grows everywhere.
How do you choose to nourish yourself with nettle? How do you prepare it?
I like tea, and you can cook it. I mean, again, this is like another, but yeah, you can cook the tops, but tea is the classic way. Tea is great.
And do I remember, or am I making this up, that it's good for allergies?
Yeah, it is. Oh, wow, there you go. Yeah, supposedly if you take it like early, and I have allergies, if you take it early in the spring, if you drink it, it can help offset some of the symptoms I have seasonal allergies. They kind of knock me out. It's starting to happen now, so if we were having this conversation in 2 weeks, I would sound probably a lot different.
Yeah, but you would be drinking your nettle tea.
And I'd be itching. My eyes would be itching, and I'd be scratching. But anyway, that was I don't know how we got on that tangent, but I do think for the mind and the imagination, which I think is always at the forefront of what I like to think about. Those are some simple things that I like to do. Helps me be creative too.
Yeah,
frankly.
would you say that like the present is more important than the future?
I mean, yes, in a way, because it's like, even though I do a lot of work with futures, like I always like to draw a dotted line back to right now, because what any future reality is, the seeds are going back to metaphors for plants. The seeds are being planted now, and they're unfolding. And so thinking about the present is really important, because that's what we live in. And like, what happens after this show is the future, right? The future is always within our grasp. We tend to think 2040, 2050 when we do speculative design work, but the truth is that that's not that far away, right? I mean, it's closer than we think.
Do you talk to past, present, and future versions of yourself?
Do I, like myself, talk? Well, some way. I mean, it's funny because I think that I look at how I used to think and how I think and how I'd like to think. So I think I think we might be versions of all those things simultaneously, right? And so I think it's important that we look in every direction. Maybe even up or down, I don't know, but I think that looking in every direction is really important. Future self, that's an open question, right? I mean, I'm always surprised where that goes. I don't know. I know I'd like to go. I think a lot about that and use some of that work to do that. There's ways to kind of think about futures, but yeah, I mean, I am a collection of every cool and dumb and silly success and failure that I've had leading up till now. And if you change any of those, I'm not the same person.
Yeah. Yeah. I found myself in a situation yesterday where I met a person who's about 13 years younger than me, but she didn't know how to shuffle cards, and she said that she didn't think that she could.
Oh.
And I got very emotional, and I was like, that's the problem. You're telling yourself you don't think you can.
Right.
And I knew when I told her that very emphatically, I was talking to past Anja. Even though I've always been able to shuffle since being a child and I didn't have that same problem she had, I had the deeper problem of thinking that I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can.
But you can. And it
In
comes
almost all
out
instances,
whether
yeah.
you're talking to yourself or you're talking to someone else.
Yeah, and actually to fail miserably at shuffling cards is great because failure opens up other possibilities. Like can you have happy accidents in cards? Like some of the cool things in art happen with happy accidents. So who knows what the shuffle would have led to?
Well, even if you are bad at shuffling, then that usually means that the cards are spraying all over the place, and it's usually either humorous or it's a rediscovery of all the cards and all of their positionings in your environment, which is always kind of a fun scavenger hunt to go on.
Right, and why do those cards fall?
Yeah.
And what are they about, right?
Yeah, yeah. Why are the what are the cards saying today, Coe?
Right.
Because you are a card reading, scrying person.
Oh, you mean tarot cards?
Yeah, you.
Oh, there's so much fun.
Or Oracle.
Or any kind of card.
Yeah,
Oracle,
yeah.
What a fun discipline and thing to think about, right?
Yeah, yeah. What's been coming up?
Well, it's funny going back to what you said about the past and the present. There's I think one of the coolest tarot readers of the last maybe forever is a guy named Enrique Enriquez, and there's a documentary about him. But he's an artist and a poet in New York City. But he has this great line. He says the tarot is intended to predict the present, right? Because it helps us maybe see things we can't see. But I mean, I use them as part of an art practice. I think I use them, and depending upon how you look at it, I think they activate when you pose a question. So if you pose a question, I think it helps you organize unconscious thoughts in your head and kind of bring them down into maybe a tangible, visible form.
Would you say all the moments where you have the cards and you don't ask a question, is it harder to find an answer?
For me, yeah, because I mean they look cool and depends on the deck. Like we had this Hexen 5.0 deck, that's different, but like the traditional ones, I think that they look great, and I think if you collide them together, they can tell you they're telling you a story, right? I went through this phase where I was going to start a website where I wanted to where I was going to set up like I don't know what I was going to do with it, but I wanted to try to like use tarot cards to break down in simple scenes every movie that's ever been made.
Oh, that's fun. Because
you could do it probably like each one of them because they're kind of archetypal anyway. But I only got as far as Die Hard.
Oh,
that was an easy one.
But you did the whole movie?
There's a tower. No, I just did the key scenes. I think I did 4 cards. But the point of that is like I think without a question, they certainly can give you images and they can bring stories to life. Yeah. I've also used them to I've done when I used to write a lot of fiction in grad school, I would use tarot cards to do readings for characters to help figure out where they were going to go, which is a really cool way to think about storytelling.
It's your own version of Plato,
exactly. Yeah.
The book that was invented with all the various possible plot lines that this one person thought you could have.
It's exactly. It's a hack for that, right? Because I didn't have Plato.
Yeah. Do you have a question?
For you?
Just
for anything?
Just for anything, yeah. Yeah, if you were to pull a card right now, what would your question be?
I think I'm curious about that's such a good that question is a great question. I'm always curious, I think, about how we are going to contend with creativity going forward. I mean, that's just a personal question because I work in that space and I'm so curious about how we're going to use that. What role will it take as we kind of move into new technological spaces? I still think that we need to lean on our own sort of gut and our own sort of imaginations. So that's a constant question for me. I don't really read cards about that, but I watch and pay attention and notice it. Oh, look at you. Oh, now if we're talking about this deck, which nobody on this listening can see, but
so I have
a question for that. Let me think.
Yeah. So while you think, I'm going to tell the listeners that I have a deck here that I made maybe a decade ago.
Yep.
Of secret words that I generated in one sitting of just kind of automatic writing of random words that could be in a deck, and they all correspond to different senses or movements or things like that. So smell, taste, all of that, actions. And they just had to be words that felt right for me in the moment. But I kind of want to make a new deck because this feels like past Anja, even though I'm a good friend with past Anja.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Past Anja's amazing. I know past Anja.
Yeah.
I've seen this deck before from past Anja.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your question for past Anja?
Do you want a full-on? Well, I think one question would be, I'm really interested in this idea. So let's keep this kind of weird anyway, right? So like, I play a lot with this idea from a design art standpoint of shape-shifting. Yeah. So let's talk about, what does the card have to say about using shape-shifting as a design? This is also partly from my friend Milagros in Argentina. Let's see what it has to say. Mm-hmm. Are you trying to tell me where to go? Oh, okay. She's moving the deck around. Okay. Barbed. Oh, that's intriguing.
Yeah, so it's not easy to enter.
It's not easy to enter. Well, that would make sense because it involves shifting forms, or at least shifting imaginal forms. And
if you do enter, you have to pay a sacrifice, right?
Absolutely. Oh man, this also. So if you can't see this, but like the type looks like, or the letters are a bunch of, all made of little barbed wire.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Barbed. Yeah. So barrier to entry, which I feel requires some sort of persistence or maybe rite of passage into that.
Right, because if you are a shapeshifter in this physical plane, you're essentially describing someone who can code switch either between cultures or settings or
modes of being.
And so you have to learn how to do that either through lingo, through social actions, through ways of thinking, the bigger ideas, and it means you have to give up what might be inherent to you.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Right, there's a sacrifice involved. Mm-hmm. And can you shift back, right? Maybe we're always shifting shape going forward. I don't know.
Oh, I think if you're paying attention and you're good, at least in social settings, you're definitely a shapeshifter, and you are paying the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I tend to be an introvert.
Right. Well, and that's why I like introverts because they can't hide a lot of times.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. I love that deck.
Why have you been thinking about shapeshifters?
It's something that has come up a lot in the last year in some of the work I've been doing, and like it comes up in Pataphysics as well, in one of the main books. But I think that malleability when it comes to how we think and how we imagine and how we sort of move through spaces, I think that ability to sort of be porous and kind of squishy at the edges is really important.
What are aliens?
Oh, what a great segue. I don't know. Well, that's a big question. I know we've talked about this in the past. This is such a fun. Well, okay, depends on what you mean by that. So I guess right now, if you, I guess from the stuff I've seen, because it is a little bit of a curiosity. That would depend on if you think they come from outer space or inner space, right?
What would an alien from inner space look like versus outer space?
Shapeshifty. No, or I think so. Oh man. It's a good question. I would say they look, well, most people think they look like the gray aliens, which I don't know what that means, but I think that, there's this whole theory. So there's a guy who wrote a book called Passport to Magoni, and it's really interesting because I'm not saying I buy this, but I think it's a compelling argument that all the phenomena that have been happening around modern UFO stuff going back to the dawn of time are all the same phenomena with different cultural wrappers, like even the fairy kingdom experiences in England. And so he would say they're interdimensional, not from outer space. And I think that's fascinating. I don't know.
Do you think aliens are the same things as ghosts or guardian angels?
I don't know. That's a good question. Why not?
Yeah.
What if there's a guy named Bernardo Kastrup? He's like an academic, but he said, "What if it's all real in some level of at least in the imaginal realm, right?" And I don't. Again, I'm not saying that's what I buy, but I'm so fascinated by this guy.
Physiologically, you would argue it's real for a lot of people who experience it.
Yeah, some people have had experiences.
Yeah. You know anyone with an experience?
I have some. Well, not personally, I don't, but I know two people that have had. I know two people that I really. One who has passed away, but who have had high strangeness, they would call that, abduction experiences. And I had an old boss who would tell the story, and I had been working at this place for probably 7 years when one day he just told me, we were on a TV shoot. This is when I used to work in advertising. We were on a shoot somewhere. I don't know. I think we might have been in Nashville. And he just starts telling me this story. And he said, yeah, I was out in California in the mountains, and me and a friend were hiking. Have I told you the story? So then he said, all of a sudden this thing came over the ridge, coming towards them, and there was a campfire, and then it got real blur, like sketchy, and they woke up in their tents, got up the next morning, early into their trip, packed up their stuff, and left. Like they were just like, they got out of the mountains of California. And he said he didn't think about it again for years, and then he was in the grocery store, and that book by Whitley Strieber that became so popular called Communion that has a gray alien on the cover, he saw that in the grocery store. It had like a psychological breakdown, basically, of like, he got really like started shaking and called his friend and said, "There's something happened up in the mountains." And he said, "I don't want to talk about it." And so this is the story he told me. This is a guy who wasn't prone to hyperbolics, right? And I know another guy that had a similar, it was a light on the side of a road in Florida and missing time. And they both, these are people who told these not to pull my leg. I think they were like, they were very, very serious about it, and it freaked them out. And they felt like, I don't know what happened, but something weird happened. Here's what it is. And, I think both people, I was glad they felt comfortable telling me these stories. But I remember so there's that.
Have you ever had an encounter with a ghost?
Oh yeah.
What happened?
Well, so in my house I'm in, actually, I've had a couple things. The coolest one is, you know how sometimes I've had two actually. I had one that have you ever had like a sleep paralysis experience?
Oh, like where you can't move?
I had one like that, but my wall was like shimmering and translucent, and there was a blinking eye in the middle of my wall, which is really, really cool. And I couldn't move though, so I couldn't fall back.
But it was beautiful.
I mean, it didn't seem scary, but it was super weird, obviously. But I was staring at it, and I was like, so then I kind of fell back asleep. But the most recent one is an eye again, actually. Huh. I woke up in my house, and it was like that, like maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and I had both my dogs were there. Melanie was out of town, and it's sometimes like you wake up and everything seems kind of weird or a little off, like a little bit liminal. And up in the corner of my bedroom, there were these eyes that were just drifting towards me, and then they got caught in my ceiling fan.
Weird.
It was really strange, and I think I was like probably again like a waking dream. But I remember like I woke up and I sat up and I was super wigged out. And what's weird about that is the eyes are exactly the ones that are on the cover of an Andre Breton, the surrealist. He has a book called Art Magic. It's the eyes from the cover of that, which I had not seen yet, by the way.
Interesting.
So I bought the book because I'm like, I clearly should have this book.
What have you looked into what they mean or represent in?
I mean, there's the evil eye, so sometimes they're a banishing thing, right? People get like that stuff on.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Malocchio.
Maybe there's something I'm supposed to be seeing or looking at that I don't.
Yeah. What would Umberto Eco say?
Oh man, I don't know what he'd say. He'd probably love it. I think he was a pataphysician as well. You said mal de ojo?
Malocchio.
Oh, there's also it's also called mal de ojo, which is
that's got to be the Spanish.
The Spanish version.
Yeah,
I was briefly in a band called mal de ojo, by the way.
Oh, no
kidding.
I
lived in North Carolina. We were playing like Mexican and Colombian rock tunes. It was really cool. I played guitar.
Huh.
We didn't get very far. I ended up moving after that, but we were practicing. It was singer was an old friend named Navani who sang. It was really fun. But Mal de Ojo was a great name for a band, by the way.
Yeah. Do you think it protected you, having a name like that?
I think it would have if we had ever gotten out of like the garage, but we never got outside the garage. But it was still fun to play these tunes, though. They were like bands like there's all these cool bands in South America. Like we played at Terciopelados, Café Tacuba, Maná. Who else? There's all kinds of them we were playing.
Wow.
Julieta Venegas. There's all this cool. Yeah, we were playing all that stuff. It was a blast.
Wow.
I had to learn a lot of new music, which is super cool. I don't really play much anymore, but I did back then.
How long were you down there?
I was in NC for, what was I there for? 2 years.
Okay.
And then I left. But
what did you absorb from the experience
with that band? or just my time there?
Just your time
Well,
there.
it was cool
Yeah.
because I had been at an ad agency for 10 years before that, and then the agency kind of imploded, so they had a huge contraction, and I was liberated from my. I've been there 10 years.
Probably because your boss was like what happened to me while I was
Same
camping?
place, actually. Yeah, they will not be named, but but it was cool because I actually had some time. So I ended up in North Carolina, and I was just it was the first time I hadn't been in an ad job for a while. So I made some documentary film. I made one cool small documentary about this amazing puppet group in North Carolina called Paper Hand. They did these giant puppets, and they went to protests, which was really great. And their stuff was gorgeous, and they were artists and puppeteers.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me all about the radical history of puppetry, which I didn't know. And then I did some music videos when I was there, which was really fun. And then, but it kind of recharged me. I ended up kind of going back into advertising, but it was a nice reset for 2 years just to do other things.
Yeah.
Like a palate cleanse, so to speak.
Yeah. Would you please give our listeners a creative assignment?
Yeah. I think that they should write some prescriptions or some sort of spells or recipes or prescriptions for the future. I'm always curious about what actionable things we could do right now to conjure a world that we might want to see. And so when we think about a good future, we're all going to have different answers, right? Like one person's good, maybe someone else is like really bad. But I'm always curious about how we can have agency in creating the future. So I'd love an assignment where people wrote stuff about that.
Do you have an example of a spell for the future?
Ooh. Let me think. I'm trying to think like Yoko Ono's Grapefruit's a good example of like some of those different Fluxus type pieces. So I would say, I mean, for me, a really important one is like this is the hardest question I've been asked in a while. No, I think if I was going to do one, it would be find community is really important. I think find the others, right? Find the other weirdos who can be community, and I think any future has to be one we all do together.
And you deal a lot with younger, although graduate students.
Yeah, they're super serious. They're great.
How do you recommend they find community?
I mean, they just kind of do it. They're so good at it. I mean, they're really good at it. And like our program's a 1-year program, so they really spend a lot of time together. But I think it's just finding common interests. I think our students do a lot of really fun. They go ice skating, do hockey. So I think it's just about be vulnerable. I think community and creativity requires vulnerability. When you're real with people and you let them know kind of what you're about, I think you'll find kindred spirits that way. Yeah.
Is there anything you would like our listeners to know about before we close up the show?
Just that this is an amazing show, and it's good to spend some time with you again. I feel like we cross each other in like art spaces all the time, and I'm a fan. I like your work a lot, Anja. So it's good to see you.
I appreciate that.
I think you're one of the cooler humans in Milwaukee. So
thank you. Well, that's a great statement for you to make as I suspend this show for a couple of months, so that people can tune in a few months.
Find Anja wherever she is.
Yes,
because it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So the show's going to be ending soon. Do you have a question for me?
Yeah. What are you up to this summer? How can I come find you doing cool things?
Well, I'll be at a large gathering by the lake that attracts many people. Some call it the largest music festival, but I'm not allowed to name it. I'll be there doing poems on the spot. I'll be at Bastille Days. I'll be at all the street festivals near you.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Shout out to Daniel Murray.
Yes. Thank you. My guest was Coe Douglas. We'll catch you eventually on Anja Asks Anybody.